I don't know about you, but starting my mornings without stress or overwhelm sets a positive tone for the entire day. That's why I've prioritized a simple, consistent morning routine that brings joy, structure, and peace to my home. For me, this includes being intentional about creating a screen free environment, a choice that has made our mornings feel calm and connected. In today's video, I'll share what a realistic morning looks like as a mama of two and the principles I use to make this work in my parenting and homemaking. So, my kids start their day between 6 to 7 a.m. and as soon as my toddler wakes up, he is ready to start the day by playing. And I have this organizer here in my living room where I have several baskets of different types of toys and books. As you can see, I have a fairly small toy rotation that we have, and I just like to keep it simple. I do have to cater to both my toddler and my 10-month-old, but there's a lot of overlap because they're 19 months apart and they play with a lot of the same things. This morning, my son decided he wanted to start with reading a book. I buy pretty much all of my books thrifted now, and I can't walk into a thrift store without leaving with books for my children. So, this was one of our newer editions, and he literally has me reading this back to back at least 4 or 5 times. And we are deep into a Play-Doh era. We actually made this Play-Doh, and I can link the video where I made it. There's a recipe that I used in there, but I just love that it's something he can easily do by himself. A lot of the time he doesn't need me to play with him, so it's nice because I can get things done such as vacuum, because as you mamas know, little babies like my 10-month-old will go on a scavenger hunt to find any tiny little piece of anything that they can put in their mouth. And with a toddler, a lot of things come inside our house from outside, whether that's leaves. He might be ripping little pieces of paper up in the floor that he finds, and then my baby ends up putting it in his mouth. So I have to be very diligent with vacuuming at least once a day. I try and do it in the evenings, but if not, I try and just do that first thing in the morning. And I usually don't keep my baby in this activity center anymore because he is mobile and I don't like to keep him restrained. I like him to be able to explore, stand up, and just move his body. But because I was vacuuming, I had to have him be out of the way. So as you can see, I'm just getting him dressed for the day, and then I can move him into the living room now that it's nice, vacuumed, and safe for him. And my toddler is just playing with the Play-Doh in the back while we get settled in for our morning. Most of the time he does tend to eat within the first 30 minutes to an hour. Sometimes he sees his Play-Doh or remembers he has Play-Doh and he will literally ask for that instead of breakfast. And even if I try to offer him breakfast, he's just so into his Play-Doh that he does not want to eat. So I've learned to just follow his cues, and if he wants to play with his Play-Doh, I just let him. And then he will tell me when he's ready to clean up the Play-Doh, and he'll ask for pancakes a lot of the time, or peanut butter and banana, which are his top two favorite breakfast meals for sure. He has each of those at least, well, basically every day. Those are his two options. Sometimes I'm able to sneak in some eggs and sausage, but for the most part, that is what is his consistent breakfast. And here we're just getting our Play-Doh put away. I tried to just encourage him to put his shapes in his containers, and then I clean up the Play-Doh portion so that it can be a collaborative effort, because he's not very detailed with how he picks up his Play-Doh, so it just gets everywhere. It gets on the floor, so I would rather do that part and just help him do that, and he can clean up his shapes. This morning, my husband joined us for a little bit before he starts his work day, which is always nice to start the morning as a family of four together. And he's just being silly so he can clean my baby's nose and mucus. He was very proud that he was able to make it fun for him because otherwise he cries. And this is a better look at our toy rotation. That is pretty much the extent of the toys that I have out. The white basket is primarily my baby's toys, which is a lot of just balls, different types and shapes, and then some sensory and sound toys. Like I mentioned, we don't really use the activity center anymore, but I do like to have it out for him to pull up to stand, and I just transferred all of his little activity toys on there to one side so that he can stand and play with it all together. And as you can see, I brought out this huge bean bag, which is actually all stuffed with his stuffed animals and blankets and comforters. So I just got the actual bean bag sack and then I filled it myself, which is a huge storage hack. If you have little storage like me, we live in a 2-bedroom apartment, so I had to be creative, and this was by far one of my best purchases, so I can link it down for you if you are interested. Next, I am just making my baby a morning puree. Yeah, it's basically just baby food mixed with papaya and mango. Sometimes I'll add avocado. It's basically just whatever I have at hand, but I do really enjoy making his breakfasts fresh as much as possible. And I like to freeze my son's pancakes. So here he is helping me count. That's one big thing that I like to do to encourage his vocabulary and him just participating in the mundane tasks. So I get out our frozen bag of pancakes and then we just count together. We have been working on Spanish particularly because he knows how to count from basically 1 to 12, 13, 14, 15 sometimes in English, but we are working on consistently reciting numbers in Spanish. So anytime that we have breakfast and he knows that we are making pancakes, he says, "Count, mommy," and then we count together, and he's been enjoying pressing the microwave button too. And at this time, we are just getting all of our breakfast ready. I have my coffee, my Bible. We start every meal with prayer, and that's what you see us doing here. It's one thing that I really like to instill from a young age. So even when I am feeding Elias by himself, my little 10-month-old, I pray over his food too. And starting to also focus on teaching my baby sign language. I'm not as consistent with him as I was with my toddler at this age, but I'm still hoping that he can pick some up. But I am very consistent and disciplined with opening up my word during breakfast time. Even if I can't get through an entire chapter with, a lot of focus, I at least have that discipline of always having it be part of our routine, which has been so helpful in just keeping the word and Jesus at the center of my day. You saw a little quick glimpse of my son's breakfast. I like to pair his pancakes with some sort of fruit when I have the capacity to, when I have fruit at home. And after breakfast, he wanted to go outside. So I set up his easel, and as you can see, we had old artwork up, and unfortunately, part of our easel is broken. So you see that there. I tried to fix it, but I think I need to have my husband staple it back together or use his tools, his nails, whatever it may be. But yeah, I took out some crayons for him and we were just coloring together. Usually he's a lot more entertained when I do it with him, and I believe at this point my 10-month-old was napping, so it's nice because I'm able to have some dedicated alone time with my toddler so that I can just focus and put all of my attention on him during this time. And it's just an evolving season of life where this is what I'm able to do at this time, and as my baby's needs change, then our routine will also change, but that's what we are doing now. And we live very close to farmland, and when it gets windy, a lot of the dust kicks up. So I've learned to improvise, and I bought this lawnmower cover actually to try and cover, but it was a little too big, so I have to get a smaller one because sometimes critters hide under there. And during this time, I'm just also trying to multitask as much as possible. So I'm taking out laundry, and usually I would have my toddler help with this bit because he cannot reach up there. I did it myself, but I like to involve him with as many chores as possible. So usually he would help me put in the laundry into the washer, which is stacked on the bottom. And if you are not new to my channel, I've mentioned this several times that my toddler is obsessed with baseball right now. So we play this every single day pretty much. And he makes me bat, he makes me pitch. We switch all of the time. So this was seriously, we play this all the time. And okay, my poor little guy, we have not bought him a helmet. Yeah, he had one when he was really little, but I actually donated it. So he uses our grocery basket that he has, which is super funny. That's his little basket. And now we've moved back inside. He wanted to play with, I don't even know what these are called. They are just little silicone emotion. I don't even know what to call them. They're just little domes. They're different colors and they all represent different emotions. And this is the awesome part, is that he gets so creative with them. As you can see, he lines them up and he's playing with his little Mandalorian figure. And this is literally what he played with for probably 30-40 minutes. It was actually insane. I was busy cleaning the kitchen, but I was able to sneak in some footage without him looking at me. And see, I just love that he can use them in such creative ways. He's popping them, he's playing, lining them up, and you know, it doesn't take a lot for kids to be entertained. And this was definitely a testament to that because it's such a simple toy. But see, now he's stacking them. So this was definitely a toy that I really appreciate because not only does he play with them, but then even my little 10-month-old kind of teethes with them. He just puts them in his mouth, and I know that they're not a choking hazard. They're soft, so it's just a random toy that my mom sent us, and it's honestly been a highlight for them, which I was definitely not expecting. But there he is. He's still just playing with them, and that's one thing that I appreciate about having a more minimal toy rotation, is that they are able to get creative with the few toys that they have. So I am personally not afraid of having limited selection. As you can see, it's really not that many toys that he has, but if anything, I always feel like we have too many toys out. And yeah, he's always entertained, and I mean, he knows where we have more toys in our toy closet, and sometimes he will ask for a specific item, but most of the time he is super satisfied with whatever we have out. And I practice toy rotation, so whenever there's a toy that I know that they're not playing with, then I just swap it out. And you know, that's the cycle that we do. So during this time, I'm able to, like I mentioned, just clean up get prepared for lunch, and it's just a great system that we have. And like I mentioned, at this time my baby is sleeping, so I just have the monitor and I'm basically just waiting for him to wake up. If my toddler wasn't so into his play at the moment, this would be something that he would definitely walk up and want to help me put the dishes away, because I have integrated him into chores and homemaking based on his development and his ability to help. So that's one thing that I've shown in previous videos, is just him helping. I will name all of the dishes that we're putting away, so that's how he was able to learn fork, spoon, cutting board, all of the things, and it's helpful to me so that I can get some help. And as he gets older, he's used to helping with certain things, and yeah, I can get him used to being in the kitchen with me. So now at this point, my baby is awake and he is in this little playpen area with us, which isn't huge, but it's enough space for them where, they can get around, especially my toddler. He can still, I don't make him stay in there. He can easily get out and still keep my baby in there, which is the safest place for him, while still maintaining enough space for him to crawl around, stand up, etc. And sometimes when I've given enough time to clean up the floors, I will just open up that space and block off a different part of the house so that he can still have even more space. But at this point, we are just tidying up so that we can get ready for lunchtime. So usually my baby is asleep anywhere from 9:30 to 11 or so. So after we get settled, that's usually when I'm starting to think about lunch. And because my baby just woke up, it's time for him to nurse. So after doing some light cleaning, I just sit down and I can get a little moment to rest. And now we can start thinking about lunch. So, like I mentioned, I like to include my son into a lot of just the mundane tasks. So, he is very used to being in the kitchen with me. He actually really enjoys cooking with me. So, I let him be in there, and I encourage him to do some of the simple things. So we have a butter knife. This is not a real knife, as you can see. And sometimes it gets messy, and a lot of the time it does take much longer than me just doing it myself. But it's one way that not only can I include him into homemaking and chores and learning responsibility and actual life skills, but it's also a way that I can keep a close eye on him so I know what he's doing. And it's a Montessori style type of parenting. So, he's helping just make his sandwich. He's counting all of the sandwich parts, and now we can sit down and start to have some lunch. Our routine may not look exactly like this every single day, but this is a pretty consistent structure to our day. And I hope that this video just encouraged you to see a realistic look at what a screen-free morning routine can look like. There is absolutely no judgment if this is not something that you practice in your homemaking, but I just want you to know that if that's something that you want to work on or change, that it is totally possible. And this is just a singular glimpse into one household and how we are able to do it. If there is a specific question or further in-depth videos that you want me to talk about in regards to a screen-free home, then please let me know. I hope that this video was encouraging for you, and I would love to know what your morning routine looks like. How is it the same as mine? How is it different? I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching, and here is the next video that I think you would really enjoy. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.